I'm back. Let me know when Dr. Arnott is on the line. Thanking you.
St. Clairsville.
Managing your business can be a minefield. One step in the wrong direction, and it can feel like everything you've worked for is at risk. I always had a vision of building a team, a crew of true professionals that could handle it all, tax, insurance, and investments. Big enough to partner with Encova, but personal enough to protect your interests on the home front. I'm Gary, and this is the Glessner Group.
Over the years, you've brought opioids into your home. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them just in case. But holding on to opioids puts your family at risk. Learn more at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Just like they always do, Quaker Steak and Lube at the Highlands continues to serve the Ohio Valley. The Lube is still open for carryout and now offering their $10 meal deal every day of the week. Get one entree and one sidecar for just $10. Pick from steak, wings, ribs, and more. Call in or order online at thelube.com and follow them on Facebook to stay up to date on their latest specials and promotions.
Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim Robinson at the Highlands, home of lifetime powertrain protection. Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim Robinson at the Highlands, home of lifetime powertrain protection.
In a hurry and need to see a doctor? The Woodsdale Health Center and Walk-In Clinic is located across from Little Caesars on National Road. Open 7 to 7 Monday through Friday. Patients can receive primary care, treatment of minor illnesses and injuries, wellness visits and physicals. There's also a lab draw station open from 8 to noon weekdays. A division of Wheeling Hospital, the Woodsdale Health Center is led by family physician Dr. Michael Wilson. Call 304-234-1971. They'll take good care of you.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster. With a look at your local weather forecast for your Friday, look for partly to mostly sunny skies, breezy at times, daytime high near 56 degrees, the overnight low near 30 degrees, under partly cloudy conditions, a mix of clouds and sunshine for your Saturday, with highs in the lower 50s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
Live from the Robinson Auto Group studios in the heart of the Ohio Valley, this is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
Man, I keep talking over Mr. Big Voice Announcer, man. I'm going to slap myself. Ouch, that hurt. What are we talking about this morning here on the Watchdog Morning Show? Ohio County schools are considering later start times, beginning at Wheeling Park High School and then I would think rolling through the rest of the school system. They're asking for public input, and I'm asking for your opinion on the text line at 304-214-1600 or the CityNet hotline at 304-232-8255. Thanksgiving is less than 2 weeks away. How do we safely handle Thanksgiving dinner? Former CBS and NBC medical director Dr. Bob Arnott is going to drop by with some ideas on that. I've got our continuing COVID coverage as we look at the continuing to rise local numbers. Senator Manchin and AOC square off on Fox News. We'll talk about that. Newspaper editor John McCabe and I have our traditional Friday roundtable on local news of the week. And it is Friday. It is Friday the 13th. So we'll talk about superstitions. Also, when did you first feel old? We'll have a look at that. And some Thanksgiving conversation coming up as well. Weather-wise, it's fall flannel weather here in the Ohio Valley. It is a cold morning. I'm not going to call it nippy or cool. I mean, given it's cold, 35 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. There's a feels-like temperature of 29 degrees. 35 at the airport, 35 here at my home studios in Elm Grove, and 35 degrees at the Robinson Auto Group studios, downtown Wheeling, in the heart of the Ohio Valley. If you want to text me, as I mentioned, 304-214-1600. Biffy, is my guest there yet?
Yes, he is.
All right. I've been broadcasting from home for weeks. I'm very COVID conscious. I try my best not to see too many people, and therefore Thanksgiving is going to be kind of a closed event for me, and I feel bad that we won't see our family. But some of you are going to try to have large, or at least a family gathering, large or small, for Thanksgiving. And, of course, Thanksgiving is the over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house we go time of year. So how do we reduce our risk of contracting or spreading COVID during the Thanksgiving season? Former CBS News and NBC News medical director Dr. Barb Arnott is with us this morning. Good morning, Dr. Bob.
Hey, Howard, how are you? It sounds like Corona's really in tough shape out there this morning where you are. I feel for you.
Yeah. So everybody wants to have Thanksgiving. I want to have some kind of a big Thanksgiving gathering. We've been very conscious about it. I remain self-quarantined. I haven't been out of this house really other than for, a ride or something for, 6 months. I broadcast from home and so on. But a lot of folks want to bring their family together. I guess let me ask you this first of all. CDC has issued some guidelines. Are they the guidelines we ought to pay attention to? And if so, what are they?
It's a very good question because the CDC has had a rough go here with a lot of political interference. I think recently they're pretty good. I think they're decent guidelines. I think they're missing a few things. Howard, I would say the number one thing is this. When you look at your risk, the most recent list of risk, it's being in a closed indoor space, such as a restaurant and bar. I have been going around to our local schools, I'm advising in homes and whatnot, measuring CO2 levels. And that's a reflection of how stale the air is or how good your ventilation is. And what I've been shocked at is it's actually worse at home than in our schools. If you are going to have people in your home, first and foremost, open the windows, open the doors, even if it's cold, get great air circulation. Because if you have stagnant air in that house and you have people in there, you're asking for trouble. And as we've seen, there have been all these super spreader events from the Rose Garden to, restaurants and bars and churches and whatnot. So watch out. That's one. Number two is the CDC, as of about 18 hours ago, has new guidance on masks. A lot of questions about whether these work or not. And they're now saying not only do they work in terms of protecting others from you should you be infected, but they really are working in terms of protecting yourself. And a lot of it, Howard, has to do with the quality of the mask. Let's just go from the bottom up. If you have a gaiter, you're probably spreading the virus, a single layer gaiter, because it's stripping the water off. The virus is going right through it. If you have a loose weave cotton single layer mask, you may be getting as little as 5% protection. Now, you take another step up and you have a 3-layer cotton mask, you're getting up to 50% protection, maybe a little bit more, says the CDC. A surgical mask would get you 67%. And what I bought all the local schools, I bought 1,500 of these Air Queen masks because they're what's called an N95 substantial equivalent. What that means is it's the same quality as the N95 that they're wearing in medical centers, but it's not detracting. It's not taking away from healthcare workers. And it gives you 97.6% protection. But make sure you wear them right. Going around the schools, and I'm advising the local schools here, kids are wearing below their noses, over their chin, on their forehead, around their neck. So if you're going to wear it, just make sure you wear it properly. And a lot of it, Howard, has to do with just having enough confidence it's working. If you have a mask that's really crummy, you don't think it's working, you're not going to wear it well anyhow. I wear the Air Queens everywhere, and I'm pretty confident. I went down to Boston the other day, went to a major hospital down there, was out and around being careful, but I felt pretty confident I really had a mask that was protecting me. And as Redfield, the head of the CDC, said when he testified before Congress, before the politicians told him not to, he did say, look, the mask is going to give you better protection right now than some of these vaccines may. Now, we've seen the Pfizer vaccine may be quite effective, but others may only be 50%. You're getting 97% protection with the right mask.
Dr. Bob, this is a medical conversation, but let me just throw a second of politics in here. How do you feel when you hear people say things like, well, those masks don't do any good, or I'm not going to wear a mask, nobody can make me wear a mask? It's fascinating to me, the politics of this, when this should be a strictly medical issue or public health issue.
What I think is terrible is, the administration actually went to war against its own scientists, which is ridiculous. And then the administration also, at their rallies, encouraged people not to wear masks, and had them on distance. And there may be up to 700 deaths from this. So I think it's frustrating. What I would say is, if you're listening and you're in one town, you say, I don't want to wear a mask. It's personal freedom. First of all, I would say, I spent a year in Iraq with the Marines. I spent a couple of years with, special forces and 82nd Airborne. If you want to be brave and show personal freedom, go to Afghanistan. Ride your motorcycle without a helmet. Do something that's really brave. Not wearing a mask isn't brave. And I see all the time guys with their girlfriends or wives. The wives are wearing the mask. They aren't, and they go home and they infect them. So it's crazy. But what I would say is, listen, I don't totally disagree with you. The masks have been terrible quality. They've been worn poorly. And you're saying, does it really make any difference? Well, I would say right now, with the new CDC guidance as of 18 hours ago, these masks work. Just get a high-quality mask so you're confident enough wearing it that you're really going to protect yourself because, man, with up to 150,000 cases a day, and this thing is accelerating, you have a very good chance of getting sick and getting very sick. There's not enough of these new Lilly antibody medicines out there for everybody. So, your mask is your best protection. I understand the politics. I understand the freedom part of it, but, suck it up and wear a mask for those around you.
Yeah, I'm going to leave politics here, but nobody's asking you to put on a hazmat suit or asking you to, do something. Nobody complains when they go to a restaurant and see a sign that says no shoes, no shirt, no service. Oh, okay, that's fine. You get that. That's not an infringement on my rights. So I get very, very frustrated. And certainly when I look here locally in our area at very rising numbers locally and all across the country, COVID positives are rising, hospitalizations are rising, and unfortunately deaths are occurring more frequently for God's sake, wear a mask. It doesn't make that big a difference. Dr. Bob, one of the questions I've often wondered, I do wear a mask where I go, but what about cleaning? I mean, should we use the same mask over and over again? And if so, how do we clean it, or should we clean it, or how do we make sure it's just throw it in the washer, or what?
So it's a really good question. It's an excellent question because, so many people wear the same mask. There's a tragic case of a 28-year-old physician who wore the same mask every day for months and died because what you're doing is you're accumulating viral load. You have to assume that if you're wearing a mask and you run into COVID, that mask isn't deflecting the virus. It's trapping it, and it's sitting there in your mask. So if you touch the front of it, you could be infecting yourself. And if you don't wash it on a regular basis, it's just accumulating more and more. Now, with the next generation mask, these air cleans that I've been wearing, you can actually get a 75% ethanol spray. And the guidance is this. At the end of the day, spray the front of it 30 times. Let it dry for an hour, and it's good to go for the next day. It'll last you for 10 days. So it ends up costing you something like, $1.80 a day. It's 18 cents a day. I'm sorry, 18 cents a day. So it makes it, very, very cheap to be able to wear a great mask on a regular basis. If it is cotton, yes, they should be washed. But technically, Howard, after every use where you could have been exposed, you would want to wash or change that mask. So, if you are in a crowded bus, a crowded airline, and you get off, you should want to change in a safe place and get a new mask because it is accumulating the actual virus.
And you're recommending, at least the mask you use, I assume you're recommending it, but if folks are trying to figure out what's a good one, Air Queen is the kind you use, right? Or you're recommending here?
I do. I'm actually part of a big technology forum on the virus. We, first looked at sourcing ventilators. Now we're looking at masks. This is the one we like the best. I bought, $1,500 of these for the local schools. I think 2,000 total to distribute them. I wear with confidence. There's a great site, airqueen.com, and it has, you get a discount, by the way, if you put the word safe in there, and it has, lots of good information, has all the science behind it, the FDA test, because it does have an FDA 510K clearance, so you're getting something that's medical grade. And that's the word I like to use. I like to tell people, regardless of what you get something that is medical grade, so you're really protected, like the air queen.
Dr. Bob, appreciate your time this morning. I'd love to get you back sometime and talk some more about some other issues as well. Medical matters make a big deal. We talk so much about politics on this show, and I wish we'd spend some more time on public health and medicine. So maybe we'll invite you back one of these days. Thank you for joining us today, though.
You do a great job, Howard, and on medicine and protecting your viewers there, so I'd be delighted to come back. It'd be really be a great honor.
Super. Thanks very much. Have yourself a good day. Dr. Bob Arnott, former CBS and NBC News medical director. I'm sure that name is a familiar one to you. I remember watching him a lot on CBS. So it's an interesting thing he pointed out, though. A lot of what he just said is stuff that's reinforcing what we've talked to you about before. Number one, wear a mask. Number two, wear a good mask that actually protects you. Keep the mask clean and sanitary and so on. I never thought about air circulation, Biff. At the beginning of this whole thing, some of the school teachers were raising questions about air circulation in the schools. And I never thought about that. But if you are going to have family come in or friends come over for Thanksgiving dinner, open the doors, open the windows, circulate the air through your house. The house can get very, that's the word I'm looking for, but it gets all closed up and
stuffy.
It can be a bit of a problem. Stuffy. Thank you. Good word. So it's a great point. It's a great point he makes. Thanks to Dr. Bob for joining us this morning here on the Watchdog Morning Show. 8:22, 22 after the hour. Cool morning this morning. Let me check. I'm hoping it keeps going to bump up. Nope. It's still 35 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport with a feels-like temperature of 29. A couple of texts coming in on this idea of starting Ohio County schools, Wheeling Park High School in particular, at a later time. I want to get to those texts coming up. You are welcome to use the text line right now at 304-214-1600. We also have a little stretch here of time for you to use the CityNet hotline. If you want to call in, we can talk about the idea of changing start times in schools. 304-232-8255, 304-232-TALK, or anything else that's on your mind you want to talk about. We've got a stretch of time here for you to use it. McCabe's coming in at 9. He and I are going to kick around a variety of stories here in the Upper Ohio Valley. It's 8:23 after the hour. The Watchdog Morning Show, by the way, is brought to you in part by Wheeling Hospital.
Save big during the Black Friday sales event at Thomas Auto.
Other than being on a speakerphone, which I don't like, he was pretty good. Yeah. I understand it's convenient for him to be on a speakerphone, but I wish they would have a better system. But we could hear him, and that was good. And he's good. Yeah. It was acceptable. It was fine. Would have preferred it, a better, use the microphone or something, but that's it. Whatever happens, happens. It was a reasonably good segment, and I needed a segment, so, so that's good. I'm going to try and push for some phone calls the next half hour because it is an open half hour, so don't know if we'll get any, but I'll push for them. So let me know if we do get any calls.
Litigation, criminal defense, including tax issues and healthcare fraud, Harris Law Office will fight for their clients by offering the most aggressive representation in and out of court. Call Paul Harris at Harris Law Office for a free consultation. 304-232-5300.
I'm not buying till I check on Ford.
Most of us are faced with uncertainty every day. Your job, your finances, sporting events, schooling for your children, and so much more. With so much uncertainty surrounding you, there is one auto dealership that you can be certain about, and that's Doan Ford. You can be certain that you always get a great deal and the best service afterwards. Being in business for over 50 years has given Doan Ford the reputation of being a strong, reliable dealership. Be certain. Choose Doan Ford. Online at DoanFord.com.
I'm not buying till I check on Ford.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster. With a look at your local weather forecast for your Friday, look for partly to mostly sunny skies, breezy at times, daytime high near 56 degrees, the overnight low near 30 degrees, under partly cloudy conditions, a mix of clouds and sunshine for your Saturday, with highs in the lower 50s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
Thank you for riding with the Watchdog. Live and local, just the way you like it.
Live and local for the Ohio Valley. The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues.
$8:26 after the hour here on the Big Gig for a Friday as we work our way through to the ever-loved weekend. Again, one of those things that disc jockeys say, and yes, I used to say it back when I was a big-time disc jockey. Heading towards the ever-loved weekend. I don't know what that meant, but we used to say that, I used to say that, so I'll say it again. We're heading towards the ever-loved weekend. Here on the Watchdog Morning Show, 35 degrees. Wheeling, Ohio County Airport, feels like temperature 29 degrees. So earlier this week, JJ, Governor Justice, said that, well, he doesn't know. I'm not sure, really. I don't know that Biden is winning this election. Really? You don't know that? You think of fraud. You think there's fraud. You think things are tampered with. Well, then, JJ, how about your own election? And how about, Patrick Morrissey and all of the Board of Public Works and the supermajority in the House and Senate? Because if part of the election is fraudulent, then isn't it all fraudulent? If we can't trust the vote for Biden, how can we trust the vote for, Jim Justice? Makes no sense. And this is happening all across the country. Republicans are by golly, there's fraud. We're going to go behind. The president says it and we believe it. Then how did you get elected? Lindsey Graham, one of these ones. We're going to continue to investigate. Okay, well, but you just won your election, so was it by fraud? No, not my election. Oh, no. I just meant Biden. Doesn't make any sense. Anyways, earlier this week, JJ said that essentially, I do not acknowledge the election is over yet. Which, of course, prompted President Trump to praise him this week. Yes, he praised him. President Trump tweeted approvingly of Governor Justice just a day after the governor said that he didn't view the election as over. West Virginia Governor Justice refused to acknowledge that Joe Biden won the presidential election. That was a quote that was on Twitter, and Donald Trump retweeted that with the note, "Big Jim is the greatest." Oh, jeez. Democratic senator from our state, Joe Manchin, pleaded with Governor Justice on television this week. He was on MSNBC to just say the facts, man. Just say the facts. That's a quote from Manchin. Just say the facts. Accept that Biden beat Trump, as will be very evident when, well, you know, he moves into the White House on January 20th. JJ. It's not been a good week for the governor. This is the week where he said, there's terrible things happening. What do you call it? It's been a cannonball to our stomach. All these COVID cases rising here in West Virginia. It's a cannonball to our stomach. And I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Yeah, that's what you want to hear from your leaders. I don't know what to do. I don't know. Yeah, boy. Anyway, President Trump praises the governor there. Joe Manchin, and this is what's going to happen inside the Democratic Party, and it's happening in my own household. I'm having some pleasant disagreements with my very progressive-leaning daughter-in-law, who is, she leans far to the left, and she wants the progressive ideas like the Green New Deal and Medicare for all and so on to be implemented. And yet there is, in West Virginia, we are not progressive Democrats. And as we talk a lot about how do we get the Democratic Party back on track, the first thing I think that we've got to recognize is that, like it or not, West Virginia Democrats are, always have been, and quite likely always will be, a more moderate brand of Democrat than what we are seeing with the AOCs and so on in the world. And Senator Manchin has been pretty aggressive in making that point. He made it on this show just a couple of days ago. Manchin's, we're not going to defund the police. We're not going to pack the court. We're not going to do all of those things that the far left wants to do. He was on Fox News yesterday. Manchin was. Now, don't get, she's on Fox. Well, he was also on MSNBC, but he was on Fox News yesterday, saying that, for example, he won't support court packing. Let's see, I'm looking for the quotes here. He would not commit to voting against ending the filibuster, packing the Supreme Court. Again, repeating much of what we had here. Here, this is what the quote I wanted to get to, which is almost word for word what he said on our show this week. He said on Fox News yesterday, "Defund the police, defund my butt," said the senator. Defund the police, defund my butt. I'm a proud West Virginia Democrat. We are the party of working men and women. We want to protect Americans' jobs and health care. We do not have a crazy socialist agenda, and we do not believe in defunding the police. Now, not surprisingly, he got kind of the cold stare from some on the far left, including AOC, who is the linchpin of the Green New Deal, for example. She is a self-described democratic socialist. She feels that Manchin is abandoning the principles of the party, and with respect, and again, we have this fight in my own household. My daughter-in-law and I fight about this. It's a fair argument to have. I am more progressive than the traditional West Virginia Democrat, but I also believe that in West Virginia, if we want to regain power, we being Democrats want to regain power, we've got to recognize that West Virginia is, again, and always has been, a more moderate state, a very right-leaning Democratic state. And if we want to pretend to be progressives, I think we're making a terrible mistake. Now, it doesn't mean we can't propose progressive legislation. It doesn't mean we can't be first with legislating on recreational marijuana, for example. We can certainly pick those things up and put them out and pass them. But we're not. I think Manchin is right. We are not. We are and the other part of what Manchin said yesterday on Fox is good. Again, what he said here on this show this week. We are the party of working men and women. Democrats need to get back to that, need to get back to being the party of working men and working women, being the party that supports the unions, that supports the guys and gals who are in the trenches doing work every day. We are not elites. And part of the problem West Virginia Democrats have is that the national party is trending further to the left. Biden will help pull it back a bit, I think, which is a good thing. But the national party is trending a little bit further to the left. The national party is more progressive than West Virginia Democrats are. And it may well be the rest of the country is more progressive than West Virginia Democrats are. But the first thing that Democrats need to do is get power once again. Does that sound avaricious? Does that sound wrong? Does that sound somehow dictatorial? You can't do anything if you don't have the power. You can't do anything if you don't get elected in large enough numbers to make a difference. And in West Virginia, that means, now, it means not being Republican light. It doesn't mean pretending to be a Republican. I remember having this argument with Natalie Tennant a couple of elections ago. And I thought Natalie Tennant was being a little bit too far to the left, I guess. And I'm sorry, she was too far to the right. She was too far to the right. She was trying on more occasions than I like to have seen to kind of pretend that she was very much like the Republicans. We don't want to be like the Republicans. That's not the point. But we have to be the Democrats that define ourselves differently than the national party. And again, Manchin is out there trying to make that case, and I'm with him on this. You know, I have criticized Joe Manchin a lot over the years, but I'm with him on this. I think that West Virginia Democrats need to be, and the Democratic Party, by the way, in general, needs to just pull back a little bit from its leftward tilt. And again, we don't need to go for the full Green New Deal, but we do need to say we support alternative energy, as an example. I don't know that Medicare for all is the correct answer, but certainly expanding access to medical care through the government is an answer. So we've got to define ourselves a bit better. But at any rate, this was from Manchin this week on Fox News. Defund the police, defund my butt. Of course, there are probably some progressives going, that's right, we will defund your butt, and we will beat you. Manchin doesn't run for, let's see, is he 2 years or 4 years from now before he runs for re-election, if he runs for re-election? I think it's 4 years, right? Because he was just reelected 2 years ago, 6-year term. So he's still on for a good while. Hoppy asked him this week if he was going to run for reelection the next time around, and he kind of dodged that question, which I fully understand. I've had a number of people come to me recently and go, well, you know, he's going to run for governor again. He's not going to run for governor again. He's either going to run for reelection or decide enough is enough. No mas. I don't know.
I think.
And keep in mind, he could find a role in the Biden administration too.
I think when he was talking to Hoppy, because when Hoppy asked him that, he was kind of like, oh my good. I think he said like, oh my goodness. He goes, Hoppy. He said something like 4 years. That's an eternity in politics. He goes, I'm not even thinking about that yet, or something. But just the way he answered it and his expression, it was pretty good.
Yeah, and I believe that, by the way, because there probably is part of Joe Manchin that's saying, I don't know, maybe 4 more years and I'm done. I have no inside info on that, and I'm not encouraging that. I'm just saying, you know, he's reaching a certain, maybe at that point he's going, yeah, you know, let's get 4 more years and I'm done. Again, there's also the possibility in my mind, I don't know what it would be. Remember when Obama was president, there was a lot of talk that that Manchin might find his way into the Obama administration. And that's always a possibility Biden and Manchin both come out of the Senate. Biden was gone before Manchin got there, I think, but still, they come out of that Senate tradition, so that's always a possibility too. At any rate, JJ is on Trump's side, and Manchin ain't. And Manchin is criticizing the governor because of the things he had said, and Manchin is. And this battle that we're talking about here is the battle that's going to happen inside the Democratic Party in West Virginia, specifically, and the Democratic Party across the country in general. How far do the left do we want to go? West Virginia Democrats have got to find a way to define themselves strongly, clearly, and definitively as Democrats, and I think Manchin did a good job with this on Fox yesterday, on this show earlier in the week, as the party of the working class, defender of the working man and woman, but not necessarily, and I don't think I would go so far as to use, what was the phrase he used? We're not supporting a crazy socialist agenda. I don't think I would go quite, I don't think I'd use that language. But that is going to be a true battle. And by the way, Joe Biden's going to have that same battle. Biden is much more of a moderate. One of the reasons that I think Biden was the best candidate, and I said this early on, is because although I perhaps agreed with many of the principles of Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders, who else was one of the other candidates? Anyways, the progressive candidate, I agreed with their philosophies perhaps a little bit more, but the key is getting elected. And this country wasn't going to elect a far left candidate. So I think that Biden was a good choice for the nomination because he could bring over folks that weren't afraid he was going to be, quote, a crazy socialist. But again, it doesn't mean we can't bring some of those items to bear. So we'll see. Anyways, thought I'd share that with you. All right. I want to get back to the school system. We'll do that coming up in a minute. If you want to join me on the phone lines, I've got room open. 304-232-8255, 304-232-TALK is the CityNet hotline. Feel free to use it. Over the next 20 minutes or so, we can get some calls in here. Also, plenty of texts coming in, 304-214-1600, 304-214-1600. Got some numbers on COVID coming up. McCabe and I kicking around the Ohio Valley News in review. Lots yet to do here on the Watchdog Morning Show.
The WTRF Channel 7 News Update is brought to you by Thomas.
Well, that was an unplanned rant. I really didn't mean to go down that road quite that way, but it was okay. It was all right. Yeah, Natalie and I have been having some disagreements over this. The what? Yeah. Oh, really? Okay, when we come back, why don't we do a COVID update? I'll just run some of the local numbers down real quick, and then we can start talking about the football there if we have to. Not if we have to, we'll start talking about it. I'll let you deal with that. Yeah, you might as well. Unless by some strange chance we get any phone calls, which I doubt we do. Okay. Okay. At the moment, we're still on for Central on Sunday, right? At the moment, but but we're orange right now, right? So we have to wait and see what happens tomorrow at 5. Park, yeah. Okay. All right. Well, again, we'll start with coronavirus numbers, and then then you can talk about the football a little bit. We'll see where we go from there. My wife went somewhere. Where did she go? She's not in this house. I'm guessing that's not the choice that she was making. But when she's not here, it makes me think to myself, can I get some food? How long is she going to be gone? Could I order Bob Evans delivery? Could I get sausage, gravy, and biscuits before she gets back? A possibility. That was pretty funny. That opened quick, too. I had a sausage and egg muffin Wednesday when I was down at the office. I picked one up on the way in. Even Kayleen said, I won't tell your wife.
Specifically in tomorrow's game, Max Duggan can beat you with his arm and with his leg. He rushed for over 180 yards last week in TCU's victory over Texas Tech. Pre-game coverage tomorrow here on MSN begins at 8:30 with the Go-Mart Mountaineer Tailgate Show kickoff set for high noon. That is today's Mountaineer Report, brought to us by Kroger, the official grocer of WVU Athletics. I'm Tony Caridi on the Mountaineer Sports Network from Learfield, IMG College.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster. With a look at your local weather forecast for your Friday, look for partly to mostly sunny skies, breezy at times, daytime high near 56 degrees, the overnight low near 30 degrees, under partly cloudy conditions, a mix of clouds and sunshine for your Saturday, with highs in the lower 50s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The perfect cure for your quarantine blues. The Watchdog on Facebook Live. Watch The Watchdog weekdays on Facebook Live, beginning with the morning show with Howard Monroe at 7 a.m. Local talk radio, Watchdog style. Give us a call and tell us what you're thinking. Locally, 304-214-1600. Out of the area, toll free, 866-514-1600 or 304-232-8255.
COVID-19 update.
Continuing coverage of the year America shut down continues on the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
Well, let's get some counting of the numbers in here so we know where we stand COVID-wise in the upper Ohio Valley. Wheeling, Ohio County Health Department yesterday, 35 new positive cases of COVID-19 in Ohio County for Thursday, bringing us at 974 total cases. It won't be long before we're over 1,000 in Ohio County. Ohio County has had 10 deaths. So those are the numbers in Ohio County. Marshall County, double digits again, 30 new cases announced in Marshall County as of yesterday. That's 30 positive, 3 probable cases of COVID-19. Marshall County now a total of 623 confirmed cases, 78 probable cases. In Marshall County, 261 folks are still isolated at home, 10 are hospitalized. We've had 8 deaths in Marshall County, and 422 have been released from isolation. Still doing some community testing in Marshall County, although community testing at Cameron has been canceled. They were doing it at Cameron and at the health department. The Cameron testing has been canceled for today and moving forward. until further notice because the National Guard has been moved to some other communities. So community testing events will be held at the Marshall County Health Department today, 9 to 3, and tomorrow, 9 to 3 at the Health Department. And in Ohio County, at least through tomorrow, and I do not know for sure, I don't think I see any notes on this. If I had to make a guess, I would guess that the testing will be done in Ohio County into next week. But at least through tomorrow, I can tell you that the Ohio County tests will be done in Warwood, at the fire department, at the volunteer fire department in Valley Grove, and on Wheeling Island at the fire department there. So those numbers continue to rise and continue to show concerns. Bridgeport High School student test positive for COVID-19, and so as a result of that, a new COVID-19 case in Bridgeport. An additional 5 high school students and 2 faculty members are also being quarantined due to the positive cases. And so as of today, or at least for today, Bridgeport High School only, will move to remote learning. So Bridgeport High is on remote learning today. This does not impact the middle or elementary school there. And let me see. It looks like Ohio County is now in the orange category. Am I right, Biffy?
Yes, they are in the orange category.
The latest DHHR county map has them orange. And where's Marshall County?
Marshall County should still be orange, although Ohio County is right on the border of orange going back into gold. I believe Marshall County is on the higher end of the orange. They're like, I think the last time I looked, it was 7 point something for Marshall County. So they're on the high end of the orange. Ohio County, literally almost right on the border of going back down to gold.
Brooke County is green, Wetzel County is yellow, Tyler County is orange, and Hancock County is gold, just to finish off the northern panhandle. So now, Biff, across the state, we're already starting to see some of the playoff games this weekend canceled or adjusted, right?
Yeah, if you look in Double A, the announcement was made yesterday afternoon. 2 schools in Class AA, Frankfort, who was ranked number 3, and Kaiser, who was ranked number 7. They will not be able to compete in the playoffs this weekend. Both teams are scheduled to host playoff games on Sunday. Both schools are in Mineral County. Mineral County is, I believe, the only red county that is in the state of West Virginia. So with Mineral County being red and schools closed for remote learning and extracurricular activities from really the starting next week, Kaiser and Frankfort will not be able to play in the AA playoffs. So what that means is Frankfort's opponent, who was Independence, and Kaiser's opponent, who was North Marion, both Independence, who's a 14 seed, North Marion a 10 seed, they will advance to the quarterfinal round next weekend.
And here locally, we're going to be watching the education map that comes out tomorrow very closely. Tomorrow, the 5 o'clock map, the one map that rules them all. If we remain orange, we're in trouble, right?
If we remain orange, that would mean that Wheeling Park's opponent, who is Princeton, and Wheeling Central's opponent, who is St. Mary's, they will advance to the quarterfinals unless we go either gold, yellow, or green.
So if we stay orange in Ohio and Marshall counties, we are looking at the local teams we care about are following will not make the playoff. What about John Marshall? John Marshall also is scheduled for playoff action, so
yeah,
they too would be off the boards, right?
Poor John Marshall. They got a gigantic test ahead of them, having to go to Cabell Midland, which is about a 3.5-hour trip in Ona, West Virginia. If you know where Ona is,
I do not.
That is where, that is where Cabell Midland is. So if somehow Marshall County gets back into gold, John Marshall's going to have their hands full.
So it's going to be, if they do get into gold, it's a long ride and a long game anyway. So we'll have to see how it plays out. But again, we'll watch that carefully tomorrow. If we move out of orange in Ohio County, move up to gold, then Central plays on Sunday, right?
Yeah, Central will play. Actually, let's see. John Marshall is 1:30 on Sunday. Wheeling Central is 1:30 on Sunday, and Wheeling Park is 5 o'clock. Wheeling Park's actually the only one playing at home. I take that back. Oak Glen and Double A is playing at home, but Wheeling Park will be on the island on Sunday. John Marshall traveling to Cabell Midland. Wheeling Central traveling to St. Mary's.
All right, so watch that map. Comes out 5 o'clock tomorrow, and that will be the defining map. If we do not bump out of gold, or don't bump out of orange into gold in Ohio County and Marshall County for that matter, then JM, Wheeling Park, Wheeling Central, no go in the playoffs. So we'll see. If they do go, we'll go with Central, correct?
Yes.
You're on the Watchdog?
Yeah, we will have that game Sunday at 1:30, and it'll be over on 1370 because the Cleveland Browns play on Sunday as well. So we've got to put the Browns on 1600, which bumps Central over to 1370.
And remember, if you happen to be out of the immediate listening area of 1370, our two stations each cover a distinct listening area. So if you're in the Marshall County area, as a basic concept, you listen to 1370 or 97.7. And if you're in Ohio County, you listen to 98.1 and AM 1600. But if you're out of our immediate listening area of 1370 WVOY 97.7, then just use TuneIn Radio or go to our website, watchdognetwork.com, and catch the streaming audio there. But, well, I'll just leave it there. But
put it this way: the season comes down to a color coded map on tomorrow at 5 o'clock. It's that simple. I mean,
years from now, some Park or Central teams player is going to say to their grandkids, "We could have won the championship, but we were orange." What?
Yeah, and it's kind of it'll be disappointing because I think both roads that Wheeling Park and Wheeling Central have are decent enough that perhaps both of them could get to the island for the championship if we have the championships and everything. And wouldn't that be neat on a Saturday to have Wheeling Park playing for a Class A championship at noon and close it out with Wheeling Central playing for a single A one at 7 o'clock on Saturday? That'd be a Saturday to remember here.
It'd be a Saturday yeah. Although I'm going to be curious what the game plan will be for Super 6, no matter who's there. What kind of fans in the stadium will they allow? How they're going to handle this? I'm sure it'll be a modified event. I'm sure Bernie Dolman will probably be talking about that at some point in the near future.
I won't be surprised, Howard, because I think the stadium holds like 10,000, let's just say. So I won't be surprised if they do like 20 or 25%, get it at the most. Now this is just me saying this. I don't have information or anything. Probably at the most, maybe 2,500. That'd be 25%. So.
And I think that's probably what I would guess that you're absolutely right. Probably 25%, 2,500 or so. Yeah.
Because the state's going to have to get their money somehow. So they're going to want as many in as they can, but they're not going to want too many in if you understand that.
And look, these Super 6, I mean, certainly the first thing is for the kids, for the teams to have the championships, to be part of a championship team or a championship game. The first concern is for the kids. But there's also, fans want to see this stuff. We're not going to get the usual, but can you imagine, though, again, just talking out loud, if Park were to be playing and Central both to be playing in the Super 6, and, I mean, we could fill the 10,000, but we won't be able to, so.
And it won't be the first time that stadium would have been packed.
And we have to ask ourselves, when is this all going to be over, Biffy? When's it all going to be over? I guess the short answer is when at least it doesn't begin to be over until the vaccine is back up and running. Dr. Fauci yesterday said that he thinks we're going to be dealing with the virus for a good while, but pretty soon he thinks it will not be a pandemic anymore. He's very big. We've talked all week about the Pfizer vaccine, which supposedly is over 90% effective.
Putting it to rest doesn't mean eradicating it. I doubt we're going to eradicate this. I think we need to plan that this is something we may need to maintain control over chronically. It may be something that becomes endemic that we have to just be careful about. Certainly, it's not going to be pandemic for a lot longer because I believe the vaccines are going to turn that around.
All right, Dr. Fauci there. Now, coming up next hour, McCabe and I will talk about COVID. We'll talk about the Ohio County School idea of pushing start times back, see what John thinks about it. Maybe John can better explain to me why we would have, because I just don't understand it. Kim Miller says if they were to push the start time at Wheeling Park High School back, we would have to spend $500,000 to buy new buses. I don't fully understand that. And it probably is my ignorance. I'm not being critical. It's probably my ignorance, but maybe John has a better thought on that. Although seldom does John have a better thought than I do, I'll be honest with you. McCabe and I next hour on the round table. It's ABC News Time right now.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
7,000 admission.
Okay. I'm back, Biffy. Does it still say 30? I'm still looking at 35 degrees. Is that what you have? Okay, thank you. Okay. I'll go with yours. Oh, wow. Okay. All right, I'll go with it. That's not what I'm showing here. Something's wrong with my system, so. Oh, I know what's wrong. I turned my Wi-Fi off earlier because I was having that connection problem. That's what's wrong. Okay. I screwed up on the Facebook last hour. I prepared to share it, but I forgot to hit the post button, so I didn't share it. And let me know when John is there.
Fat Tire Amber Ale is now available at local retailers. Please don't drink and drive and drink responsibly. From your friends at Wine and Beverage Merchants.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster. With a look at your local weather forecast for your Friday, look for partly to mostly sunny skies, breezy at times, daytime high near 56 degrees, the overnight low near 30 degrees, under partly cloudy conditions, a mix of clouds and sunshine for your Saturday, with highs in the lower 50s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
Welcome, friends.
And welcome back.
Are you superstitious?
Are you not superstitious at all?
I know. I'm
the unluckiest man in the world.
You know why? Because it's Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th?
It's not because it's Friday the 13th. Folks are superstitious. Stop being paranoid.
Superstitious nonsense.
I don't know. 13 is a very unlucky number.
Look, we're not talking about 13.
What are we talking about then? We are talking about
showtime.
This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe and Brad Leonard behind the board in the producer's chair.
Well, it's finally Friday, almost done. Time to crack open a cool one. No, it's just a Diet Dr. Pepper. The days of the early morning Bud Lights are long gone. It's just a cool Dr. Pepper this morning. Diet Dr. Pepper, in fact. How pathetic, from Bud Light to Diet Dr. Pepper. But it's good. What are we talking about today? Been a good morning so far. Going to continue that here in this hour when John McCabe and I will have our traditional Friday roundtable on local news of the week. Ohio County schools are considering later starting times. They're asking for public input. I've been asking for your thoughts on that. Have some texts I didn't get to before. I'll get to them here in just a minute, and John and I can kick this around in a second or two. Dr. Barb Arnott was with us earlier. He is a former CBS News and NBC News medical director, talking about tips on mask wearing and safely handling your Thanksgiving dinner and your friends coming over and all that kind of good stuff. Continuing COVID coverage, we look at the latest rising COVID numbers here in the upper Ohio Valley. Senator Manchin and some of his progressive Democrats are at odds with each other for sure. Manchin yesterday on Fox News, as he had said somewhat similar things on this show early in the week when he talked about defunding the police on Fox News yesterday. Manchin said, "Defund the police, defund my butt." I'm sorry, I just think that's a hilarious way for Manchin to put it. But he says, we're not, Democrats should not be the party of radical socialists, but rather the party of working class people. Obviously, the progressive socialist wing of the Democratic Party not happy with that. AOC, among others, a little ticked off at what Manchin had to say. We were talking about that. It is Friday the 13th, so we are talking about superstitions. What are you superstitious about? Biff, black cats are the one you get just a little bit nervous about, right?
Yeah, a little antsy about them.
I'm careful about never walking under a ladder. Don't open an umbrella in the house. I don't break a mirror, but I don't know that I'm worried about 7 years of bad luck as much as about cutting myself on a broken mirror. But what are the things that you get concerned about? Walking under a ladder, the number one superstition that people are worried about. I don't believe anything will happen. I'm not superstitious in that I don't truly believe, oh my God, I've walked under a ladder and now my life is bad. But I see no need to tempt fate. So I walk around the ladder. So those are a few of the things we've been talking about this morning. It's a cold morning this morning. We're going to see a high up to 53, which is seasonable, so that's good. Going to be a little bit chilly during the morning hours. Some clouds coming in throughout the day today. Not much rain to worry about. That's good. Set 53 for the high, which is about normal for this time of year. The weekend will be, at least it begins tomorrow with, today I guess begins the weekend, but tomorrow, Saturday, begins pretty nice. Some rain comes in later in the day. Right now, Biffy, what do you have? We're still in the 30s, right?
Yeah, I have 39.
39 degrees at the, there it is. My gauge just bumped up. 39 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport with some fog. And there must be some wind blowing around out there, Biffy, because we've got a feels-like temperature as well.
Wind chill of 34 degrees, wind coming out of the southwest at 7 miles an hour.
So take a light jacket. No, don't take a light jacket. Take a jacket with you today, at least in the morning, but it'll be fairly seasonable by midday, 53 again, the predicted time. But right now, 39 degrees with a feels-like of 34 at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport, and here at my home studios in Elm Grove, and at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling, in the heart of the Ohio Valley. Is McCabe there yet?
He is here.
Let me break in the program. Newspaper editor extraordinaire, John McCabe. Good morning, John.
Hey, Howard. Good morning. There's one that's probably a non-traditional superstition that everyone should be afraid of, and that's a smiling politician. Am I right or wrong there?
That's a good point. I'll go along with that. That's a good point. Yeah, one who wants to shake your hand and smile.
It's one hand in your one hand shaking your hand and the other reaching for your wallet.
Well, when they shake your hand, make sure the watch is still there when they're done.
That's right.
No, I'm not going to disagree with you. Disagree with you on that. Hey, John, let's start off with a story you guys had this morning. I want to get your take on it. Maybe you can help me understand this better too. Jocelyn King had a piece this morning. Ohio County school officials plan to survey the public's thoughts on school start times, specifically perhaps moving Wheeling Park High School's start time from 7:25 to 8:30 in the morning. That's not a done deal. They're just thinking about it. They want to get the public input on that. Well, let me just throw it at you. What are your thoughts on that, first of all?
Well, I think from a standpoint of what's best for the students, it is there's I don't say a ton, but there's a lot of data out there that shows that later start times, particularly for high schoolers who work on primarily, most high school students work on a little different sleep cycle. That they're getting to that point where they're staying up a little later. They're in extracurriculars. After school, they're coming home, maybe sometimes working a job. They're then doing homework, and then to get up and get on a bus at 6:30 or have to leave the house at 6:30 to get to school. That doesn't leave. They're not getting a good night's sleep, most of them. So the studies are out there that show that later start times for high schools are beneficial, on the whole. I think in this particular instance, and I watched a little bit of the meeting the other night after, the recorded version of it, and their concerns are, Ohio County has always ran a lean bus fleet, a very lean bus fleet, and they've structured the county from a pickup standpoint to where you have the high school starts and then the middle schools and then primarily the grade schools after that. So, the same bus driver that picks up the high school kids picks up the grade school kids, an hour and a half later or whatever it might be, comes back and picks up that next run.
So start times at Wheeling Park High School at 7:25 may mean that Triadelphia Middle School starts at 8:15 or something.
Right, exactly. And then, the grade schools start at 8:45 or, 9 o'clock.
So if we had... I don't mean to interrupt. I'm just trying to get this in my head.
Sure.
So if they would push the start time of Wheeling Park High School back by about an hour, and if they would make no other adjustments other than just simply shifting everything later, then in the example I gave, which I quickly say may not be the exact time, but then the 8:15 could become 9:15 for Triadelphia Middle School, for example.
It could, but if they want to try to keep the middle school and the grade schools in this, what you don't want to do is flip the grade schoolers, getting on the bus at 6:15 in the morning. That doesn't, that's also not a good way to handle elementary education. The uneducated expert just said. So let me put some context to that. But so that's why they are talking about, we potentially would need 5 new buses, 5 bus drivers to handle those buses to be able to keep the runs, somewhat concurrent with what they are now,
All right,
and not vary start times terribly.
I was confused, but maybe you're helping me understand. So Kim Miller says that if they were to do this, additional buses would be needed. Each new bus costs about $100,000. At least 5 would be needed, $500,000 there. More drivers would have to be hired and so on. Because I guess what the suggestion here is that you wouldn't just shift everything in the county back an hour.
Right.
But rather that you would shift Wheeling Park High School back to 8:30, but other schools' times may stay the same or close to the same, which would require additional runs. Is that where this is coming from?
That's how I've read it. And that's always kind of been the argument, not just, this current discussion. This has come up before, maybe not to the level that it feels like it's at now, because board members in the past didn't push it quite as hard as, what you see Ms. Adderhold and, Mr. Croft right now, trying to really urging the administration to consider this. But yes, what you don't want as well is for the grade schools to be starting at 10 o'clock in the morning, because if you're a parent who drops your kid off, it's not the easiest transition to be home until 10 a.m. if you have a job that starts at 9 a.m., et cetera.
And if you pushed everything back, just literally pushed everything back by an hour, you would be certainly at Wheeling Park it would be. You'd be pushing the end time back an hour as well.
Sure, and then
so
you get into...
I don't know what time. What time does the park
school's out about
out?
2:45, 2:30 to 2:45 right now.
So
any after-school activities would get pushed back an hour. So there are pluses and minuses. If you're we have one recently retired teacher and one who retired a little bit earlier, and Grace Norton on the board right now, Pete Chockless and Ms. Norton. And I know Mr. Chockless taught at the high school, and not that he's come out and directly said, but he's brought up more of, well, let's look at it not just from the student standpoint. I'm sure as a teacher, it is nice to start your day early, to be done by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If you do an extracurricular, you can go right into that. And then, of course, most teachers these days well, teachers today are going home and doing online and remote lessons as well for that segment that's home when kids are in class. But you're also always at home. You grew up in a household where your mother was a teacher. They're always doing work during the school year. You're grading papers, you're making lesson plans in the evenings. So if you push everything back an hour, it just kind of delays their day by an hour or two. So there's legitimate concerns on both sides. I think I'm glad they're having a discussion now. It's one, frankly, that should have happened a long time ago. And in prior, again, Ms. Miller inherited this. This has been something that was, George Krellis had across his desk, Diana Vargo, Larry Miller. Every superintendent has dealt with this. It just feels like now it's gaining a little more momentum. It's really early on in the process of this new board, so we don't have an election for almost 2 years now, a year and a half. I'm not going to be surprised to see something happen here, with how they work start times. Because as a parent who's now had two through high school, getting up at 6 in the morning, that's an early start for kids.
Yeah, and I'm as you pointed out in the very beginning of your conversation here, it does make sense to me. High school students simply operate better, and as you say, there's a wealth of research on this, that high school students operate better. They get up later, they wake up later, their mind begins to function a little bit later than we expect them to. So that makes perfect sense to me. So I guess the issue here then becomes, if we do decide to push Wheeling Park High School back, which makes some logical sense, then it's a question of meshing all the gears together. To get things to work. All right, that's fine.
I think one of the things too, the costs are legitimate. $500,000 is a legitimate cost. But the reality is what are we looking at as, what are we trying to do here? Is it all about budget? Yes, the answer 100% is yes. It's also all about doing what's best for children. And, as a taxpayer, number one, I think spending if we look to say it's going to cost us $500,000 to do this, I think that's a legitimate cost to look at. And two, I also can say let's, if we're worried about cost, let's start looking around at positions that have been created in recent, in the last 10 years. That maybe we don't need, that don't really service students at the level. If you look back, and this is not a gripe on anyone, administrative positions within every school district in this state and probably across the nation have exploded over the last 2 to 3 decades. So those there are ways to deal with the cost if that $500,000 really is kind of the deal breaker.
Well, I've always argued that, and your point is well taken. In a school system, the job is to educate the kids, and whatever it takes, you got to figure out how to make that work. If the best decision is moving the school start time back, and that costs more money, fine. Then you got to figure out how do you find the money or raise more money or whatever. That's the job of the administration, and it's not an easy job, but that's, as they say, that's why they get the big bucks.
Exactly.
So, a couple of texts I wanted to get to on this subject. Howard, yes, it is too early for the kids to go to school right now. I see kids getting on a Bel Air school bus at 6 o'clock in the morning. The big detriment would be extracurricular activities and students who want to get jobs. My students were really tired daily. This must be a retired teacher. So that's a good. Yeah, it's a good point. The end of day issue is a big one too. If you push the end of the day back, how much further do you push things back?
Before you get to your next text, another point to that, if you're at a school like Park that is just, again, was a 1970s design that we all realize now is a terribly designed school, this time of year, a kid can get on the bus at 6 o'clock or drive to school at 6, and, when schools are in session, if they have band or drama classes, speech and debate, they may never really be out in the sunlight all day. They may go from, 6:30 in the morning until 5 at night, and they're leaving school in November, December, and it's dark out. So, you go that entire day with that, without really any sunshine hitting your body. It's just not healthy.
Yeah, that's a good point. And again, especially this time of year, you push the stop date back, or you push the start date back, then the end time gets pushed back. Then you have extracurricular activities and so on. Kids will be out in the dark.
Yeah.
So that's a good point. Text line, if the high school starts at a different time, all the schools should start at a different time. Maybe Dr. Miller is just thinking only Park will move their time. And again, that's what I guess
Yeah.
she's thinking, or at least would adjust it somehow. Let's see. Howard, if every school in the county changes its time, it would not affect changes. But if buses are used for multiple schools, it would. Do buses go to Wheeling Park, then leave Wheeling Park and go pick up grade school kids? That would make a difference. And I guess they do.
The answer is yes, yeah.
So that's where some of that issue comes from. All right, I didn't want to. I wasn't criticizing Dr. Miller earlier, but it didn't make sense to me. But I was just simply thinking of moving the whole system back by an hour. But
Yeah,
as you
it's not
point
quite
out,
that easy. It's
no,
not.
well, and it would be a disaster for schools that start already later than Park.
Right.
For them to start even later, and then get out even later. Yeah, it creates problems for parents in terms of pickup and getting their kids off to school. High school kids theoretically can get themselves off to school and home from school without any supervision. But if you were to push elementary or middle schools back, parents would want to probably be around more for that. Okay, I get that. They have not yet put together this survey. They're going to put a public survey of some kind out to the general public. But I'm with you, John. I get the sense, we talked about this, maybe it's been a year ago or so. The issue kind of raises its head a little bit every once in a while, but it's never taken hold. Sounds to me like it's taking hold a bit this time around.
I would agree. It feels like, I think before there was just never a real interest on the part of the board to, it may be brought up by a parent or, something along that line, but there was never a strong push by one or two board members, as we're seeing now. And, the common link with both those board members is they both either have or just recently had students in high school. So it's, that they understand what, when kids are on a, think of it this way, Miss Adderholt, her, had kids in extracurriculars when a team comes home from a soccer game, in Ripley at 12 o'clock in the morning or 12:30, and they get off the bus and they've got to be up in school essentially by the time they get home. They've got 4.5 to 5 hours to catch to get restful sleep. So that's tough.
Hoppy Kirchwell is going to be talking coming up today after 10 o'clock with one of the state school board members about a story that Metro News has out today coming from a school board meeting this week. State school board received their enrollment numbers this year across the state, and I'm not referencing local, I don't know where we are locally. Across the state, 9,300 fewer students enrolled in classes in West Virginia this school year than the last.
Wow.
What's happening? That's a lot.
That is a lot.
I'm not sure what that reflects. I guess you have to listen to not Dr. Birch, it's one of the board members on Hoppy's show today, but that intrigues me. The calculation there would be that with 9,300 fewer students, public education, again, across the state, not necessarily locally, public education would lose $43 million in state funding because of a decrease in enrollment. But I don't know where this decrease would come from. I'm not sure what would prompt that.
Well, you do wonder how many, I know we've had kids here who have opted to do the West Virginia Virtual Academy as their online learning this year instead of doing the county's remote system. So I don't know if those kids are counted or not.
That's what I was thinking too. It could be that those kids that are doing remote learning under that system don't count as I don't know. If that's the issue, they can resolve it. There's legislative remedies that can be made there. But if we're just simply losing students, A, I don't know why we would be, and B, I don't know what we would. How do we adjust for that? I don't know.
Yeah, same here. Could be just a population shift where, a segment could have had a big class last year that graduated, a larger than normal class of seniors. Now, I'm not going to say it's 9,000 more, but when you look at that across 55 counties, that, averages out to about 175 kids per county that are lost. So some of that could account for a large graduating class last year statewide, or smaller than normal kindergarten classes, more people choosing to delay their students, their children starting kindergarten for age reasons, and just, during this pandemic, maybe feeling they're not ready or they're not ready to start learning in kindergarten in a remote setting. So there are some factors in there that could play that'll be interesting to hear, what they are, because, there is a bigger trend of people. If you have, used to be until you hit about June, people would let their kids go and be in their, age appropriate setting. I guess it would be their age allowable class. More people with, especially with boys who have birthdays, starting as early as February, March, are choosing to hold them back a year because of maturity levels. Boys are typically more immature. You have an April or May birthday. They can, fall. I'm going to say fall behind, but maybe not excel quite to the level that somebody who's 3-4 months older might.
Just a quick stat to keep in mind here. This is from the Metro News story that they're talking about, the drop of enrollment. Overall enrollment of kids receiving instruction at home, either county-based or state-based programs, virtual programs, a little under 48,000. 47,960 students are receiving home-based instruction either through their county or through the state. So just a smidgen under 48,000 across the state are getting home-based education. Now, we're not talking about folks that are remote for a week or something. These are kids that are actually
They just opted out of in-seat learning this year, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of going on remote occasionally and all the COVID numbers, John, we'll talk about that coming up in a minute or two. So grab yourself another cup of coffee, and we'll take a news break, and we'll come back. McCabe and I talking about the Ohio Valley News Week in Review. We'll go COVID coming up next on the Watchdog Morning Show.
The Metro News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Sure, why not? Why not?
Street in Wheeling, next to the Bridge Tavern in downtown Wheeling, wants to buy any and all unwanted gold and silver jewelry. They are paying top dollar for 10, 14, 18, and 22 karat gold plus 925 sterling silver. They also want to buy collectible coins and paper money from before 1933. Wheeling Coin and Hobby is open daily from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Saturday. Coin and Hobby, 304-232-8430, and add them on Facebook.
Frio Stack and Associates Auctioneers, Realtors, Certified Appraisers specializing in antiques, business liquidations, multi-parcel land auctions. Frio Stack and Associates is a regional business offering the executor, attorney, agent, and other individuals the most comprehensive and technologically advanced auction and appraisal services available. For information on our service, call our office at 304-233-3168 or email frioauc@aol.com. Frio Stack and Associates sells the earth and everything on it.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster. With a look at your local weather forecast for your Friday, look for partly to mostly sunny skies, breezy at times, daytime high near 56 degrees, the overnight low near 30 degrees, under partly cloudy conditions, a mix of clouds and sunshine for your Saturday, with highs in the lower 50s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
Mountaineer Nation, this is Coach Neil Brown reminding you to stay tuned for the best coverage of West Virginia football every game day. Coverage starts 3.5 hours before kickoff, and don't forget to join me each Thursday night at 6 o'clock for my coach's show live from Kegler Sports Bar and Grill in Morgantown, right here on your station for the West Virginia Mountaineers.
The Watchdog. Here's a look at the Ohio Valley local news week in review with newspaper editor John McCabe and Howard Monroe.
The Watchdog Morning Show brought to you in part by Wheeling Hospital. Coming up at Statewide Talk Line at 10 o'clock today, one of the big questions that those of us who follow politics at least are intrigued by is who will be the new Senate president in West Virginia. Mitch Carmichael did not win his election, but the Senate Republicans won a supermajority. So who's going to be the leader of the Senate Republicans or of the Senate in general? A key contender is considered to be Craig Blair, the state senator from Berkeley County. He'll be on with Hoppy Kercheval today at 10:06, and he's going to be talking about the fact that he's already trying to put together support for his run. Also coming up today on Talk Line, Maeve Nutter, a West Virginia native, singer, songwriter, actor, and inductee this weekend into the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame. We talked yesterday with Tim O'Brien, Wheeling native, about the Hall of Fame. And Hoppy will continue talking about that today, coming up at 10. Right now, I'm talking with John McCabe. John, COVID, it ain't going away, pal.
Apparently not. We've had, 90, just in the last 2 days here in Ohio County, 94 new cases announced.
We're getting close to 1,000 in total, 974.
974, I think, yeah. Whether you, I wish what folks who are busy online, this is the reality we have today. I'm trying to be, just trying to make sure I say this right. This is our reality. Like it or not, these numbers are impacting every decision that's being made. It's interesting. Mike DeWine's been out. Larry Hogan in Maryland is really kind of cracking down right now. Cracking down is not the right word, but really tightening down the restrictions in Maryland. Jim Justice, I know some have chided him, but I guess what more true statement is other than I don't know what else I can do. If you tell people to wear masks, you tell them to social distance. I guess what you can do is you can create an enforcement arm like Mike DeWine's doing and start, fining people for not wearing a mask. But it's a challenging time right now. This is what this is where we're at today. I don't like it any more than anyone else. But the reality is we're seeing numbers rise as kind of everyone knew we would see as we went along. And it's, downtown, I was walking through downtown the other day, socially distant from anyone else, of course. But in downtown.
Well, just because no one wants to get close to you, John.
Well, well, whatever works. That's fine. But the reality is there's just like no one downtown. I mean, downtown is quickly starting to feel like it did 6-7 months ago, but it feels like it could quickly get back to where it was 6-7 months ago, where I'd come to work in the morning and there quite literally would be nobody on the streets. I could sit there and play a game of flag football on Main Street and never have to worry about a car coming through.
Maybe a month ago, I lose track of time, let's call it about a month ago, I was starting to think about maybe going out and trying some outdoor dining at least. I'm not ready to go into a restaurant, but, I'm trying to ease my way back in. I was starting to go to a few more meetings in person. And then this all, came up. I'm staying away from outdoor dining or any other kind of dining. I mean, this stuff just still scares me.
Yeah.
Now I always point out, I recognize that I'm a particularly sensitive person to this because of my medical issues. So, but I'm not risking it. 35 new cases in Ohio County yesterday, I think is what the number was. 30 in Marshall County. Only a couple of them, but new deaths in both counties. And we're both are in the orange category right now.
Yeah, and right now I was just looking this morning. Right now, Marshall County has, this is according to the DHHR, has 300 active cases. 300 countywide. Do you remember back? Wasn't all that long ago when we'd have just a handful of active cases, and the big debate back then was, Marshall County called them recovered, and Ohio County called them, temporarily virus-free or something like that. They really were parsed how they addressed that. But now we have 300 active cases in Marshall County. Ohio County has 256. There's a lot of active cases right now across the state, across the country. This is not just this is everywhere. This is something that's happening everywhere right now. Again, throughout all these regions, people are going inside. People are gathering more. I went out and picked up some takeout the other night, and I felt like it was, this time a year ago, with the way a local restaurant was kind of, everybody was just kind of packed in. And my first thought was, aren't we still at 50%, which at that time we were, and we still are, and then, crowd gatherings right now are limited to 10, I believe.
10, right.
So I guess people just need to make a decision on, do we continue to limp through this until a vaccine comes along and risk more shutdowns? Or can we just say we need to be smart about it and we need to bring the numbers down so kids can be in school? So while not overly important in my mind, in the grander scheme of life, extremely important for kids right now from, Wheeling and Wheeling Park and Wheeling Central and John Marshall, who are waiting to find out if they have any chance of playing this weekend. Nobody wants to go out. Their football season come to an end on a forfeit, in essence, because of numbers in your county. That's.
But at the moment, I think that's a very real possibility.
Well, I think Marshall County is. Marshall County is going to have a very hard time getting their numbers turned around. They just, their infection rate is high. Their percent positivity, which has kind of been the equalizer on most of these things and allowing kids to participate in sports and be in school. As of yesterday, I think Marshall County's percent positivity was 6.5, and you have to be under 5 to be in gold. There's 6.75 as of the 11th. So as of actually Wednesday's numbers that came out Thursday, we'll have new numbers out here in about 15 minutes.
Governor Justice has been saying he wants to test. We got test in order to get the positivity rating up. I think that may have actually backfired a bit. I think we are seeing more testing being done, and as a result, we're getting more negative tests.
Possibly.
I know that in at least one of the Ohio County testing sites this week, a large number of the people showing up are not there just because, well, better get tested. They're there because they're seeing symptoms or they have reason to believe that they've, been close to the virus. So, and therefore we're getting these large numbers again. I don't want to say backfired. That's not the right phrase, but I think a lot of folks thought if we simply had more testing, we'd have more clean people, positive tests come back, and instead we're seeing a lot more negative come back.
Yeah. So we'll just have to wait and see, what the map looks like today, what it looks like, tomorrow at 5 o'clock. If it does come out at 5, last week it didn't come out until 11. I think as they worked through the numbers and tried to figure out, how to, what they were going to do. So we'll see. This is a big week for a lot of kids in West Virginia. There's a lot of counties. Right now, as I'm looking at the map, based on yesterday's map, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 counties in orange, 1 in red. And some of those counties, have 1 or 2 teams that are going to be playing. Mineral County. I heard you guys talking about that earlier. They've already canceled. Their seasons are to end at Kaiser and can't remember what the other school was.
Frankfurt.
Frankfurt, yeah. So Wood County, which has got I think 2 teams scheduled to play. They've got some work to do. Their percent positivity is about 5.5, 5.45. So a lot of kids could see their athletic seasons, and for some maybe careers, come to an end without being able to play a final game. And that's no matter what it is, that's not a fair way for it to go out. It's just not. It's life, but it's not. You don't. If you can stay away from it, and we can stay away from it by people being smart.
And that's the frustrating thing is we wouldn't be in this position if we would still have COVID rising. Don't get me wrong, but we wouldn't be in the large number of cases all the time if people would simply follow the basic guidelines. And what scares me, John, is that I'm afraid too many folks are going to really break their bans, if you will, on Thanksgiving.
I agree.
You're going to see travel. You're going to see large family gatherings. Nobody doesn't want to have grandma over for Thanksgiving, right? But it's a bad time to do it.
What's frustrating for me, Howard, real quick, is I pretty much since March, I've come to work, I think every day but one. I worked 1 day at home because of an unexpected shutdown of a child's school. I've been to work every day. I've gone to Lowe's. I've gone to the grocery store. My life has pretty much been normal. Mm-hmm. But I've just been smart about how I approach things. I wear a mask. I try not to get too close to people when I'm in places. And if I do, I make sure I wash my hands, and not because of anything other than just trying to make sure, that I'm not becoming part of the problem. And I just, still today you go and people just don't, they walk into a store, they don't want to put a mask on, they're not going to, or they put it on, and when they're in, they take it off. And I just think, come on. Just let's just get through this so we can get back to living life. And, if you're small businesses are suffering terribly right now because of this. And I don't know what hope there is, because I don't know how you come back after essentially what's going to look like 9 months of really tough financial times.
And you throw in the fact that certainly in Ohio is already being talked about specifically, and in West Virginia maybe, additional shutdowns coming. Mm-hmm. DeWine says bar and restaurants, he'll make a decision on Monday. And I wouldn't be the least bit surprised that he ends up imposing a bar and restaurant shutdowns again. As you point out, that's happening elsewhere in the country as well. These things are very preventable. John, before I'm waiting for Bob Westfall, but I want to get a couple of real quick obits in here, because a couple of prominent local folks passed away in the past week or so, I think are worthwhile. One of them, one of the most outgoing and ebullient guys I ever knew, which was Lee Paul.
Oh, yeah. Mr. Paul, again, not being from here, I remember the first time I met him, and he did what he always did. He grabbed my hand firmly. Lee Paul from Wheeling, and just really had set a course of seeing him around town, seeing him at events, with his wife and his family, and always such a gentleman. There's very few people that you go through in life and meet who really are what they show on the surface. He was one of them in my mind, because he was the same way every time, and everyone I've ever talked to who met him, just extremely generous, extremely kind, outgoing, a very personable guy who loved his, I think is our story and and everything else we've seen. This guy who loved Wheeling to death, quite frankly. He loved being from Wheeling and was very proud of that.
he would always stick his hand out. Every time I would see him, he would stick his hand out. Like, Howard, Lee Paul saying hello. He didn't say hello. He was like, Lee Paul saying hello. Okay.
And what's funny, and as we started to tape At Issue, starting 10, 12, 13 years ago, every time I'd see him, kind of from the 2007 time on, and always talk about something we talked about on the show. Something was in the paper too, but you always say, you and Howard really had a good show, and Bill had a really good point about this, or Robin had a really good point. So just a guy who was always very genuine and a huge loss for the Wheeling area.
Another, I've got Bob Westfall online,
Yep.
but I want to take a minute to talk about one other guy, and that's Bill Hogan, who passed away last week, I guess it was, at the age of 90. What a tremendously interesting character he was.
Yeah, did not know Bill well. I think I only met him once or twice, but from the folks I know who really knew him, just almost more of a guide through life for a lot of people. A guy who just a personality that could connect with people, help people along their journey. A unique individual in so many ways. Again, loved Wheeling, loved being from Wheeling, and left a mark that will stay around for a long time. Again, I wish I'd known him better. Our paths never really crossed.
I knew him moderately well. That we would talk from time to time, and he battled his own demons. This was in his obit. He battled his demons with alcoholism, overcame that, and then became, as you point out, someone that really helped others to move forward as well. Very successful stockbroker, but then ended up going to the Peace Corps with his wife, the lovely Susan Hogan, and he loves to write. Wheeling has a whole bunch of his articles on their website now about old Wheeling, and it's just Bill was just a really, really, really neat and interesting guy, and I would never have a chance to talk to him without coming away feeling I learned something or had some fun about the old days. And so condolences to Susan, certainly, and to the family.
Most assuredly. A great loss to Wheeling on both fronts. So,
all right, John, I got to run.
Thanks,
I appreciate
Howard.
your time today. Thank you very much. I'm going to switch from McCabe to Westfall. Bob Westfall is here from the Big 7, WTRF TV. Good morning, Bob.
Morning, Howard. How are you?
I'm good. I'm cold, 39 degrees.
Well, at your age, cold really does affect people quicker.
What do you mean at my age? You people are
okay. I see you right now in front of the fireplace with this big, heavy shawl over your shoulders.
Sadly, that's not far off. Sadly, that's really not too far off. As soon as I get out of this, when I get off the air and out of the home studio, I will go into the living room, turn the fireplace on. You're absolutely right, and I'll put my big blankie around me, and that's okay. All right. Well, now you made me feel really old. What are you working on today, Bob?
That's okay. I have a boss that has a heater on when it's 90 degrees in the summer. So
there you go.
What
are you working on?
We got some big drug bust overnight in Martins Ferry. We're getting the details right now. DK is at the Sheriff's Department as we speak, so we'll have that on social media and our website here shortly. Something else DK covered this morning, Shania Wells sentenced today, various animal abuse charges. She pled guilty to one. She got 1 year. So that hopefully this puts an end to this case. We've been following this person for several years now. This is not the first time she's been in trouble, but she appeared before Judge Fragato this morning, and we will have that information here as well shortly. I'm sure the judge had several words of wisdom to pass to her, so we will have that this afternoon, this evening at 6.
Judge Fragato always has words of wisdom, does he not?
Real quick, I have to tell a quick story about him. First time I moved back to this area, the first story I went on my own was he was taking his court to the high schools. It was Bel Air High School at the time. And I was just there to shoot it. He scared me straight. So I can't imagine. I just can't imagine. But that was one of the first things I shot when I came back here in 2000 was Judge Fragato's court. And I'm like, I ain't never doing nothing wrong around him. So anyway, tell me how things are
real quick, but the interesting thing about Fragato is, he is a real bear on the bench. You do not want to be in front of him if you've done something wrong. He's just a bear. On the other hand, personally, he's such a nice guy.
Right. He does the stuff with the kids, the drug-free club,
He's
all
a
that
delightful
stuff.
fellow to talk to in personal life, and he's friendly and fun and so on. But man, oh man, if I ever was in trouble in Belmont County, please send me somewhere else. I don't want Versado.
I just plead guilty and get it over with before I even have to do anything.
That's exactly right. What else you working on? What else you got?
A couple things today. We're going to sit down with Dr. Patricia Bailey. I love this person. She has a fantastic interview. We're going to talk to her about a couple things. We're dealing with a lot of COVID complacency lately. People not wearing masks. People don't think they have to wear masks. People just over it. So we're going to talk about the psychology behind that, what people need to do and how they need to overcome that. Also, it's Friday the 13th. So we're going to talk about that big long word that's out there, triskaideka, whatever.
Triskaidekaphobia. Triskaidekaphobia.
So anyway, we're going to find out something a little lighter to end the week. So I'm going to find out about that and how people learn to deal with that.
Very good.
Right now, story for this evening, 10 and 11. I love this story. As you know, Perkins Field had gone away in Bridgeport. They decided to bring it back. Some alumni have gotten together, and they're going to start raising funds for maybe not the field and the stands, but different things around the park to make it more of a park-like environment. So we're going to talk to a couple of those people involved with that tonight, and Shelby Davis will have that for us tonight, 10 and 11. I love that story.
All right, so check things out today at noon, 5, 6, 10, and 11. Also, 5:30 statewide show. And always throughout the day, keep in touch with WTRF.com or the Facebook page of WTRF, where the news is always brought to us quickly, thanks to the good work of John Lynch and his team. And Bob, you have yourself a good weekend. Don't open any umbrellas indoors today. Trying to avoid ladders.
Absolutely.
Just better safe than sorry on this Friday the 13th. And have a good weekend.
You too, guys. Have
All
a good
right.
week.
We'll talk to you Monday. Thanks. Bob Westphal from the Big 7. That's what's coming up today on TV7. We'll have the noon news for you live here at the Watchdog. WTRF TV7's noon news live here. And then that's right before, of course, the Bill DeFabio Variety Show. It's Fall Football Friday, so Bill will have a lot of football. I assume football conversations. Hard to figure out what's going on with football. 6 guests today on the Bill DeFabio Variety Show. And I think this may be our last walkthrough this afternoon, too. So that's all coming up. However, for now, it's time for me to say sayonara, see you, bye-bye, farewell. I got to go. I got to get out of here. Kirchhoff's got the calm coming up next. As for me, good Lord willing, creeks don't rise, bat phone doesn't ring. I don't get impeached. I don't retire. My ticker keeps on ticking. I don't overeat. And most importantly, Teddy says, it's okay. You can go back to work on Monday, Granddad. I shall return Monday morning, 7 o'clock, into the go-around of the big gig. Are you back with me, Biffy?
Back Monday, ready to start another week.
We'll keep on doing it till we get it right.
That could be a long time.
Indeed.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Cancel the normal.
All right, Biffy. It could have gone a lot worse, let's put it that way. I thought, not to compliment us, but I thought we actually had a reasonably good show today. That was pretty good, given that we didn't have a lot of guests to work with, so that was good. All right. Have yourself a good weekend. We'll see what happens on Sunday with our teams, and hopefully we get to play, but I don't know. I'm very antsy about that. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. Wow. And although, we're just talking about this week. If you don't play, then our interest wanes a bit. But, the same thing could happen next week. I mean, you could have teams that make it through to the second round and still, and COVID could cut them down again next week. I mean, who knows who's going to get to the Super Six, you know? Yeah. Well, we didn't. That's all I can say. Yeah. All right. Well, have a good weekend. If you need me for anything, I'm around. Give me a call. Don't plan to go anywhere unless I think, if I can run out and get some food before Nancy gets back. That's if I can just before she gets back. I wish I knew where she was or how long she was going to be gone. I don't want to run into her as I'm walking in the door with my sausage, gravy, and biscuits. That wouldn't be good. Yeah, I think that may be what I'll do. All right, have a good weekend. Call me if you need me, and appreciate your help today. Good help, good show today, and I thank you for it. Yep, all right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.
And in the UK.
Getting worse before it gets better as the UK posts its biggest one-day jump in COVID cases. Amid the gloom, the possibility of a vaccine in the coming months. Transportation Secretary Grant Shapps.
It gives people hope they can see light over the horizon, but we need to curb our enthusiasm to an extent because we also need to make sure that in the meantime, we follow these rules.
Those rules, for the most part, staying at home in lockdown number 2. Tom Rivers, ABC News, London.
And it appears coronavirus research is a tempting target for some high-level hackers. Microsoft now says it's found evidence that government-backed hackers from both Russia and North Korea have been trying to crack